seated hamstring tibial rotations with a resistance band. So I have a longer style resistance band and I got it anchored on a pole here right next to the camera. And what we're doing is we're working on tibial rotation. So that lower leg bone is the tibia, and as it rotates out and in, the hamstring muscles, or the muscles on the back of the thigh, they're going to be responsible for creating that rotation. If you actually take your hands and you put it down behind your knee, and you pull your heel back and you rotate out and you rotate in, you'll be able to kind of feel those muscles become active under your hand. I'm using a Plyo Box. Now this is not my favorite setup, but it works. So something that has like a surface that's, this has a surface, excuse me. So when I go to pull my heel back, I can only go so far. I actually prefer to do this on some sort of box that doesn't have a solid surface. So this could be like a bar stool if you're at home, something that's elevated that has an open area. And the reason being is it allows us to train into more knee flexion. So that box will limit what we can do in terms of our setup. I like to get my back of my knee all the way against the surface. Some people, you're going to want to take some extra pads to put it there too, because it'll help prevent some of the irritability that can happen in the back of the knee with those hamstrings by the weight getting pushed down and compressed on them. But we're going to put the band around my foot. Now, two ways you can go about this. You can drop one leg off to the side and kind of push your foot into the floor to help stabilize, or you can have your feet together and think about squeezing your fists with your knees, or use like a yoga block or some sort of small ball. And that way we don't get the rotation to come from the hip, because we want the rotation to come purely from that knee joint or the hamstring. So if I pull my heel back, now my hamstrings are active, and I'm going to rotate my foot out as far as I can. I'm going to pause. Typically I have people pause for 5 seconds, and then I'm going to rotate in as far as I can, and I'm going to pause. Typically it's 5 seconds, and that would be an example of 1 rep. And I'd come out of it and I'd reset. I like to do all the reps on one side before transitioning over to the other side. So again, ideally you're going to do this on a surface that doesn't have a solid surface like this Plyo Box. If that's your only option, that's fine. We can make do for now. We're trying to get our knee bent to be close to a 90-degree angle, and we're working on that rotations. If we go beyond 90 in this setup, it's going to be limited. And the way I would do that is I would just slide my body forward and try to support my knee. So now when I get back here, I can get at least past 90. Or if I was set up to be beyond 90, my leg would not touch, my heel would not touch the box. And then I'd have to play with my anchor point. So that's the last thing that I want to touch on is the anchor point of the resistance band. Ideally, when that leg is bent to 90, the resistance band is creating a right angle with your leg. So that way we're getting like our hamstrings to fire with a good line of pull. And then if you're out in front of you, you'll have to kind of play with your anchor points to be up a little bit higher, so you're at that 90-degree angle. When I say 90-degree angle, I mean like the band relative to your shin bone. And if I went beyond 90, I'd have to lower the anchor point. So play with your setup, preferably, again, I know I've said it about 5 times now, but something without a solid surface is going to be best. If you do have a Plyo Box, we can make do with that. Put a pad on the back side of the knee, or just some towel rolls on the surface and hang your leg on it, so that way it's not as uncomfortable. And really focus on creating intentional rotation in that lower leg, and don't let your hip take over.